Yeah, yo, peace. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to start this morning out, man, by just coming over here to my man's A1 station, man, and just building with him, building with the audience over here. Try to make some things happen over here. Brought my brand morning coffee over here. And decided to go live about some things I saw over the weekend concerning Christianity. Now, I find something real interesting. As a people, we still running around trying to prove academically academically that this shit happened. Oh shit, yeah, let me explain this. I saw a debate over the weekend with Cedric Ortega and Courtney got cut up Thompson. And I found it ridiculous that I saw one gentleman debunking and the other one doing everything he could to prove that these events happened. I thought it was quite clear. The Exodus that Courtney got cut up Thompson was speaking about was the Exodus in the Bible. Why would you then turn to historical revisionist or historical revisionism to prove otherwise? Manfred B. Tech does not believe in your Bible. Karakuni does not believe in your Bible, sir. And he even uses the clip family, stating what Karakuni said, but didn't play the rest of the video. Had you played the rest of the video, she would have made it quite clear that no Exodus happened. She was talking about, yes, the Exodus happened. If you look at Egyptian texts, you can see this is where they got all their motifs from. All you had to do was play the rest of the video, but I saw it as another Christian being deceitful, trying to sound like an academic. That's the word they use, academic syllogisms and all this other shit. Once you start going into that realm, your narrative is no longer real. What Exodus is the gentleman talking about? I've had conversation with Christians and Christians abroad, and when you're talking to them or a Christian apologist, they come across real pompous. I know how to speak. I know how to talk about Christianity and all the other archetypes and motifs that come along with it. It's syllogism. It's etiology. The etymology of liturgical conferences I've been to prove what? We can't find this stuff historically nowhere. Now let's pay attention. When we look at the Egyptian history, we can see Semites coming in and out of Egypt, causing political turmoil. We can read about famines in Egypt. We can read about all of those things in Egypt with their texts. I heard a silly question. Can you prove directly any of these things happened in Egypt? Like the battle? Yes, you can. Archaeology will tell you that. Yes, you can. Archaeology will tell you that. You can prove anything directly in Egypt. If it lines up and there's primary sources readily available, then you can prove it. You could prove battles. You could do those things. You could prove wars because you have correspondences between two people groups talking about it. It's not so with the Bible. Here, let me help you out, Christian, the Christian mindset. If God turns the river to blood, that destroys the entire Nile River. Not just one section of it. It destroys the entire Nile River. When you turn it to blood, therefore no marine life can exist there anymore. Do you understand? And that would mean all the societies or civilizations up and down the Nile would be reporting this. Yeah, that's what ends up happening when you put belief before common sense. And when I heard the ridiculousness of some of the stances that he was taking, shout out to Cedric Ortega, pseudo killer official. You know, I talked to him over the weekend. I said, you know what? You could have did a little bit better in your Q&A, but he said, no, Chris, I did what you do. You grab him by the neck on one question and you choke the living shit out of them. Excuse my language. Welcome to the Coliseum of Arguments. Welcome to Morning Coffee. This is bitter, but necessary. We could read about the Hyksos leaving Egypt. We could read about all those situations happening and occurring within the borders of Egypt, their exit out of Egypt. We have dates. You cannot shoehorn some damn Israelites and Moses onto that event. I heard the gentleman mention the Merneptah Stela. I don't believe the Merneptah Stela is talking about Israel. Not at all. But you want to know the contradiction that I heard in the argument? Because I tried to talk about him and in the back chat. But you got this loudmouth woman. She always yelling. Very masculine. It's very, very masculine. But you want to know, he said Egyptians never spoke about their defeats. Then he turns his argument into they got places that are named after Merneptah in the Bible. And I'm listening, and he says, and look right here at the Merneptah Stele. He goes into Israel and he defeats them. Well, does your Bible mention Merneptah? The Merneptah doesn't have anything to do with an Exodus. It has everything to do with Egyptian conquest. And there are linguists who say Israel has nothing to do. That's what it says. It don't even say Israel. Forgive me, family. It doesn't say anything. Some linguists say it doesn't say anything. But see, you know what the Christian apologist does? Are they the leading linguistic excavators and personnel of all the linguistics that has to do with a story that never happened? Those are appeals to authority. And how in the hell could Merneptah attack Israel, nigga? Or excuse me, Christians? If all the horses and all the animals and everything was killed and all the grain and Egypt was devastated by these miracles. See, they have to objectively ignore that part. And then when you keep bringing up that part, they say, you're strawmanning me. You're strawmanning me. It's not fair. I only want to talk about this. You keep talking about the whole thing. It's straw man fallacy. Shut up. Stop it already. You can't talk about the Exodus without Moses. You can't talk about Moses without the miracles. You can't talk about one part of the Bible and not want to deal with all of it. You're straw manning me. Buzzwords and context clues. I always laugh when they do that. That means you don't want to talk about it. You want to subjectively choose what you want to talk about. We know Semites came in and out of there. We don't see no devastation of the material culture by a group of people called the Israelites. Nowhere. Israel Finkistan has told you, them Jews over there done told you, everybody done told you, that stuff not real. Cultural memory? What cultural memory? Did they go into the Egyptian archives and read about these events, such as the Armana letters, and begin to create stories and narratives about themselves? Because most of this is happening during the Bronze Age collapse anyway. I mean, the sheer audacity of anybody trying to tell you that you don't know what you're talking about when you're talking about the same story. And I tried to warn him. I was like, look, man, how you trying to push this narrative ain't even cool. Oh, he's in the chat. Yeah, I saw you up there. Oh, he's in the chat? Oh, man. Oh, this is a dream come true. I could show you the contradictions in the story alone and win that argument. I mean, I could show you the stories, the contradictions. I mean, hey, brother, I didn't know all you needed 63-mile-an-hour winds, and that's all. And that's all it would take to lift up some goddamn ocean, lift up a sea, so some people can pass all the way through it. Come on, man. Can we be a bit more adult than that? Can we be a little bit more honest than that? When you said that, I said the debate is over. But the debate was over when you said, yes, this guy said 63, all it takes is 63-mile-an-hour wind for it to pick up and to lift up an ocean. Man, hurricanes happen in the ocean all the time. Ain't no people passing through it. I can tell you that much, brother. Ain't nobody passed through no damn ocean. No 63-mile-an-hour wind, brother. And if you believe that, then we might have to take you to get checked out. Y'all do it to yourself. You did it to yourself. Brother, have you ever read Kara Cooney's work? I mean, I know you showed us a picture of you in that silly archaeological hat that you got on. Thinking you over there digging up some shit in Israel. All y'all be doing that, man. Purveyor of ancient texts. Sure. They just tell us any old thing. Shout out to Ashwar Kwesi. Because when they can't prove it, their next step is I'm going to try to out academic him. I'm going to only cherry pick sources that agree with me. Ignoring everyone else's data. If anybody ever found this so-called Exodus, it would be the greatest story in the history of the world. And I don't care how you feel, honestly, being in the chat, I don't care. Because it's time to deconstruct all of this. It's time to deconstruct all of this. It's time to deconstruct all of this. Because I'm going to be honest, you were wrong as the day is long. I don't care who you took a class under. That don't make him right. And it definitely don't make you right. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Did he find it? Have they found this temple? Have they found that tabernacle? They found no evidence, no traces of any evidence of these people wandering around in the wilderness. But yet, they can find everything else regarding a people. They can find our archaeologists can find everything else regarding migration patterns. But when it comes to this, boop, can't find nothing. And when we ask you guys the question pertaining to that, why can't we find these things? You all tend to get a little pompous. I've been in the back chat with you. I know what you about. You fuck about you studying under no Lorenzo, Nigeria, none of them. None of them motherfuckers. That don't mean nothing. You just saying, hey, look at me. I studied under such and such. Who cares? I found that funny when you did that in the debate. You did all of that still, and still miscited Miss Kara Coon. And cut her off. Cut it off so no one else could hear it. See, you got the right one. You're lucky. I'm preparing myself to go to work this morning. I would just play the video, which I'm going to do later on today. So I need you to try to call A1 and try to get ahead of the argument. Try to create some straw man, some red herrings. And then two, you said you can't prove anything directly as it pertains to battles in Egypt. That was a lie. That's a talking point. That is it's called a talking point. Famines and all that other stuff. All of those things exist in the Egyptian narrative without your Bible. Where's Joseph in the record? What pharaoh or insult did he rule under? This was probably during the intermediary period, right? How about you give us one of those Christian word etymologies that be false as shit? Because when I'm telling you you're wrong, I'm telling you you're wrong. I don't care. Deconstruction is needed. Let me ask you a question, Courtney. You're in a chat, you're just typing away, your hand's probably nervous. And I don't care how you take it. You can run over there back to your echo chamber and say, this is talking about mortality. Sitting up there with a mask on your face. Like, I don't know, everybody don't know who you are or what you look like. Testing. You're sitting there with a mask on your face during the debate, like don't nobody know who you talking about. But I'll say this though, The Bears are winning. I'll give you that. The Chicago Bears are winning. They can't beat anybody that's legit, but they're winning. And my Lions are losing. Very upset this morning. You were wrong. Your Exodus never happened. You can't say the Exodus happened and then you're up there using words like Semites to describe the people that you claim to have participated in this event. I saw that. I saw how you went through. You even misquoted him when he said 19th century. You didn't even understand what he said. I heard that. Like, he didn't even hear what he said. I don't think he understood him. I don't even think you understood him. But most apologists don't. Because the thing I want everyone that's listening today, when you deal with an apologist, stay in the book. They want to take you outside the book. See, the weakness is the book. The weakness is the book. That's why they debate around the book. Vocab does it. He does it. They all do it. Every Christian apologist I've ever spoken to, they all do it. I spoke with A1 this weekend. I'm done with Mr. Exodus here. We're done with that. All I got to do is do a video breakdown and show the sources that you used, Mr. Academic. But I spoke with Asan, is that his name? Asan, and you know, he's a good guy, a very good dude, very positive. You know, the Isan, I think that's his name. Isan, excuse me. His name is Isan. Spoke with him, very positive dude. You know what I'm saying? But the advice that I would give him is you can't deconstruct Christianity and create your own brand of it in the process of doing it. I get what he's doing. I get that he's trying to show everybody the metaphysics of it, or that it's very esoteric. I agree. It is. But as of right now, it's an Iron Age document. And another thing, let's go back to Mr. Courtney Thompson here. He said that the Bible is an ancient text. The Bible's not ancient. The Bible as you have it today is rather recent. You're not reading the Septuagint. You're not reading that word for word. You're not reading the Latin Vulgate. What you're reading comes from Desiderius Erasmus. That's the text you're reading. And we ain't even talking about the ERSVs, the NIVs, the NKJVs, the NIVs. We ain't even talking about the ACV, American Standard Revised Version. We ain't even talking about all of that. Because, you know, the word of God goes deep, 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 deep. You know, all these different people writing it. They're writing it. They're telling you their opinion of the word of God. See, that's the key. And I've been trying to tell people that there is no God. It doesn't exist. All you have to do is stay in the text. This is why I'm going to start my deconstruction. Or as I like to say, destruction of it. Guys, keep tuning in. Let's get this channel to grow. Let's put on great debates. So that's what I would like to tell Isan. I would like to let him know that you can't use their doctrine and push their doctrine at the same time. Let's get the link in the chat. Cedric Ortega is in the building. Let me drop it for my beloved brother. Take your victory lap. Let's get your victory lap going. Come on in, say it. the Nile, the Nile River turned to blood. The river turned to blood. You know what? One Christian had the nerve to tell me, you guys, where does it say Nile in the Bible? Where does it say the exact location? Why haven't you asked yourself that? Why haven't you asked yourself that? Pseudo killer official Cedric Ortega is in the building. What's good with you?
Morning,
Unmute your mic.
Chris MVP Harris.
Morning.
My mic coming. Can you hear me?
Your mic is nice and loud. Go ahead.
Yeah, good. Morning to you, MVP Chris Harris, and morning to the platform. Monday morning to everybody out there. Yeah, indeed. The aftermath. My victory lap. The debate was interesting, and it was a necessary one. And I watched how you perform. I watched going on how the debate go. A couple of debates, so I know I had to focus first of all on the title. These dudes in the back chat, they do the apologist thing. There's evidence for the Exodus. There's evidence for the Exodus. I'm asking, what type of evidence are you talking about? If you're going to talk about how and when the story was put together, okay, let's discuss that. But if you're going to claim that there's actual evidence for the Exodus, you're going to have to show and prove. So the title was important. Archaeological Exodus, evidence for the biblical story. What does he do in the opening? Try to change it up. Try to switch it up. Try to create an avenue to move away from the text. That's the moment you lost the debate. I knew he lost the debate from the opening. He was not going to stick to the biblical narrative. He was going to move the goalpost. And once you move the goalpost, the story falls apart. When scholars are talking about kernel, they are looking at what is there in the culture that they use to create this narrative. Because from the moment you talk about a small people migrating out, then there's no invasion in Canaan. So you lose on both spectrums. Courtney's got slides up from the 19th dynasty. My bad, 19th dynasty to 1000 BCE. That's a span of over 800 years. You are flim-flamming. Get out of here.
Flim-flamming.
Cherry picking the data as I said he would, and I showed it. And you know what was the most disingenuous? The way he tried to
the Karakuni part. The Karakuni part was the most disingenuous to me. That was nasty.
Oh,
that was nasty work right there. That was nasty work.
And you know where he took it from? He took it from the apologists, these Creation Institute apologists, using her in a clip. When you go and you look at the full video, Karakuni is talking about.
It's called the Queen, the Heathen Queen. It's called she has a video out called the Heathen Queen. And you guys can go look at that whole thing. And she never mentions the belief in the Exodus. Dr. Joshua Bowen got upset about that, but go ahead.
She talks about the motifs. Now, if you look at the book that he used, Rensburg, in that same book, talks about the fact that they were so specific in using Egyptian motifs because of being back and forth throughout the area, because being a vassal kingdom of Egypt, they were well aware of Egyptian culture, Egyptian literature, and Egyptian texts. And when they came out of exile, they used those narratives. Why you see the drowning of Pharaoh's army? That's in the Amduat. All the plagues, these are all motifs in Egyptian literature. That is what Karakuni was referring to. Man, these folks are disingenuous. He said, Karakuni said,
Yeah.
no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't.
No, she
Y'all
doesn't.
need to stop.
Stop it. Stop it. And like I said, and I thought it was so
Redford,
disingenuous, which lets me know he doesn't cite his sources completely. I mean, they're coming in there with all the word salads and
nope.
all the flim flam. Stop acting like we don't know this stuff, dude. When you said that you can't prove a battle in Egypt, a direct battle in Egypt, that was a lie because we have correspondences to and from Egypt between two people groups that speak about this event. So
You're
it was
talking
just
about a
weird.
stele. You're talking about a stele and asking me for archaeological evidence.
You're reading, you just defeated yourself, sir.
And
You're
then
reading
when we talk,
archaeological artifact, talking about citing an archaeological artifact, talking about where's the archaeological evidence at. Like, man, get out of
no,
here.
like what? What? You're talking about
Port City
stele, right?
African Center consciousness is in the building. What's good with you, brother? Go ahead.
A stele, right? Didn't you just say stele? Archaeology stele. Isn't that the archaeological evidence right there? And how do we verify it? Because we have corroborating evidence on both sides. So the story's content is going to be inflated, going to be manipulated, but the fact that the story is on both sides leads us to conclude that this battle actually happened. The embellishment, you're going to see it on both sides. However, it did take place. That's how we
Exactly.
do. That's how it's done. You cross-reference. Where's the cross-referencing with regards to this Exodus? And I'm not making the numbers up. That's a scholarly consensus based on what the biblical narrative is talking about. So if anything you say about the
I
biblical
would love for
narrative,
him to come up here. That's right.
yes, yeah, let him come
Go
up.
ahead, Sid.
Anything that you would say about the biblical narrative,
Here, let's
it would
bring
be
him.
from.
Let's bring him on up. Yeah, let's bring him on up because I would love to ask him how is the Nile River destroyed with blood and no one else talks about it. I would love to ask him that.
The
That
Nile.
means the entire region would have been destroyed and decimated.
Nile.
You just destroyed all marine life in that area. That's an act of genocide.
The Nile. The
I want
length,
to talk
the
about
stretch.
that. Let's talk. Let's get that up. Here, he's in the back chat. What's up? Got
Yeah.
cut up court. How you doing?
Shouts out to the bar. What's up, Chris? Good morning. Said again, congratulations, Said.
Peace, Courtney. Great. Good fight. I must tell you that. Good fight.
Yeah.
Good fight. In terms
It
of
wasn't a good fight. It was garbage.
in terms of so far it has been my best opponent. I must say that though.
I appreciate it.
So Courtney, could you explain that? I like to use common sense from time to time to try to have discussions about these things, right? In the biblical narrative, it clearly says that God destroyed all the horses, destroyed the river, destroyed all the crops. How does then Ramses II chase the Israelites across, chase the Israelites across the desert all the way to the Red Sea if he killed all the horses and chariots?
Yam Suf was likely lagoons, and this is even according to the ancient archaeological findings just outside of Tel El Borg. So, and Tel El Borg was very close to the Bala Lakes and Lake Timsha, as I shared in the presentation. Those would have been something like Yam Suf. That's even according to
Okay,
Beto.
are those locations in Egypt?
Yes,
Are those locations in Egypt?
they are in Egypt.
It said he destroyed all the horses in Egypt. Yes, he said he destroyed all of them in Egypt. All of them.
Okay.
Was there a secret stash of horses somewhere that God
As
didn't
we
know
know,
about that
as we
allowed
know,
Ramses to hop on and chase them across the desert?
as we know in ancient Near Eastern war or raider literature, they often do very extravagant narrative articulations about total destruction whenever they conquer certain territories or individuals. As it relates to Exodus
So it
15,
was not total destruction.
actually, if we have archaeological evidence of it, it may have been, but as you're talking about with the sea, right? With the closing of the sea?
No, I'm talking about with the curses that he placed on Egypt. The closing of the
Oh,
sea is even more ridiculous. I can get to that narrative later. I'm talking about with the curses he placed on Egypt. He said he destroyed all the horses, all the cattle. He turned the
okay.
rivers to blood. How does Ramses, in turn, or the Pharaoh, get on his chariots and trek Israel all the way across the desert?
Again, so yeah, you are talking about Yam Suf and them crossing the Red Sea, right?
Okay, I'm talking about in the curses, there were plagues. Am I correct?
Yes, and they talk about destruction of certain
Okay,
livestock.
in the
Yes,
plagues, does it say he destroyed? It says he just, yes, it said he destroyed all the horses, all the cattle, all the
it's a
sheep.
it's a hyperbolic statement, sir. It's exaggerated. This is common as
Okay,
it relates to war
it's
literature.
exaggerated. It's
Yes, it's
exaggerated.
common in
So
that
what makes you
ancient
think?
time period
Okay,
to do
cool.
it
Let's go
again.
with that narrative here.
Generally
Hold on,
reliable.
Courtney,
Remember
you're
my
getting ahead
opening.
of me. Okay, so that means there was no plague then that hit Egypt then that destroyed all the horses. Am I correct?
It's a
Because your
hyperbole.
God said he destroyed all of it.
That's not a problem. It's a
That's not what
hyperbole.
your Bible presents.
That's fine. I'm not a
It's
fundamentalist.
hyperbole. So what
Yeah.
makes you think that so real quick. So what makes you think that your Exodus is real?
Oh, again, I didn't. I articulated the evidence that I believe is some of the best evidence that supports, by means of art, indirect and direct evidence. The direct evidence in Israel and Palestine of their earliest occupational sites are within a decade after my date for the exit. So there was a community, and
Bro, that this makes
apparently,
absolutely no sense.
I bet
Hold on, real quick. Doctor, are you familiar with Dr. Kathleen Kenyon's work?
I do, and I am
And her
familiar
work
with
is
it.
validated.
Yes,
Okay, when did she say the walls of Jericho? When did she say the walls of Jericho actually fell?
she, the falling of the walls. She didn't date the walls. The walls, which
Okay,
walls?
she
Because there's
cited in
two set
this.
of walls there.
Okay, now you're saying which walls? The walls of
Yes, there's a
Jericho in which
Colloquian wall.
Joshua and them circled and they fell.
Again, Jericho at the archaeological site has two different walls. A Collopian wall from the Middle Bronze Age. That's the that's that's the
1550 BCE.
yes, from the Middle Bronze Age. You had the rock wall, the rock base structure that goes up to be about 25 feet tall. You have that structure around the site, and that's from the Middle Bronze Age. A Collopian wall from the middle, and then at the top of the site,
And when does your
you
Bible
have
say
mud
he
brick.
did it?
Can I finish? At the top of the site, you have mud brick wall. Lorenzo Nigro, the current and excavator since for the last couple, like the last decade, at Jericho, he has written and said that the wall dates to the late Bronze Age. The debate was over Jericho. The debate about Jericho was if there even was
You're
a
getting
late
ahead of me, Courtney.
age.
Courtney, you're getting ahead of me.
Yes, sir. There's
I
two
could care
walls at
less what
Jericho.
Lorenzo. I could care less what Lorenzo was talking about. And certainly your biblical narrative isn't speaking about two sets of walls. It says a wall. And the wall that was excavated, it's even agreed upon about all the people that do their archaeological excavations there. They tell you that yes, these walls fell sometimes around 1550 BCE, not during the 11th or 12th century BCE, in which your Bible tries to purport or try to push.
So, Catherine,
And they say they use the word, hold on, they use the word walls. So there, once again, your biblical dates are wrong. And what dates is the Bible using if you're
the
going to
date
try to
is
make an
using,
adjustment to all of this?
we can assess a date by means of the toponymic usage of name sites in light of the text. So Exodus 1:11 mentions
Tokenym names, no.
toponym.
No, no,
Can I
Courtney.
finish?
You can't do that.
Toponymic name
No, sir. No,
references
no,
are
you
the
don't
way
get.
in which we
Hold
can
on,
date
listen to what I'm saying,
things
Courtney. You just
synchronistically, and
can't
that's how
come.
modern pornography happens.
No, Courtney. You cannot date things using toponyms. That's not how we use dates. That's how you ascertain something happens, Courtney. You don't just come up here and do a ramble with your flim flam on toponyms. That's nonsense. You don't have any direct evidence. And when we start talking about direct evidence, which is the evidence that's already in the ground or on the ground, the archaeological evidence that's pulled from the ground, you start now talking about toponyms and place names and shit.
Ah,
And
and
all of those
Lorenzo,
are modern names.
exactly.
No, thank
And
you,
the
Courtney. That's ridiculous.
and the day that they redid at Jericho, that day confirms what Kenyon described. Any walls that were there fell
Yes.
in the 1550 BCE, and there was nothing else. Why did they fall? Because of people getting up the hell out of there. No invasion. The place was deserted. You need to stop.
It was
You
deserted.
need to
You just misrepresented
And
Lorenzo
the
nicely.
timeline doesn't add up to nothing. If you have a date of 1260 BCE, for some reason you want to shift 10 years, it's 300 years removed from what we're talking about at Jericho. You keep playing with these timelines and your chronology is off. What you're doing is mixing and matching. It's called conjecture. You're cherry picking and you're doing it consistently and can't recognize you're doing it. The chronology doesn't help you. You are in 400, 500, 600 years time span to represent 40 years, and we can't find a trace of one body. And we know a whole generation had to die in the Sinai. Where are the graves, Courtney?
That's a great question. Normally, when grave sites are found, they might contain 4, 12, 15
Where
bodies.
are the grave sites, Courtney?
You mean like
There
at what
aren't one.
location? At what location?
You know how much people had to die
We have grave
every
sites.
year?
Can I
You know
answer
how
the
much
question?
Where
people
the
would have
Bible
died?
says,
Can I
excuse me,
answer the
let
question?
me get him. Let me get him. The biblical narrative says that you guys were encamped in Midian.
Okay. How many excavations
Okay,
have been done in
that's
Midian?
one. Hold on, Courtney. Don't get ahead of me now. The archaeological excavations there said that all of that was a 7th century BCE settlement,
Okay.
not a 12th century, not a 11th century settlement, which would be second millennium. They weren't. It was a 7th century BCE settlement.
Okay. What type of culture does the Bible say the Midianite people were?
They
Oh,
were probably a
no.
nomadic people. Does that make the
Wow.
Midianites Israelites?
It makes the probability of finding a particular nomadic group without a settlement very tough
Moving the goalposts. We're
because of the
not
way
talking
in
about
which
the
it's not
Yeah,
nomadic
but
moving
group.
the
what
We're
goalpost.
archaeological
talking
That's
evidence
about
do we
probably
mixed
have?
multitude.
It is a
I'm gonna
goalpost
get
moving.
quiet.
No,
I would like to know, do we have archaeological evidence of the Shashu people?
Okay, one
Can't
more time.
use the
You don't get
shotgun.
to come up here and just try to move the goalposts all over the
It's a
place.
contemporary type of
Okay, so
question
what I'm
because
asking
they're
you here
also
is, we're
nomads.
talking about the people. Courtney, Courtney, take a deep
Yes,
breath.
Chris.
I'm trying to have a conversation with you, and you're trying to run and do the flim flam.
I'm
Okay,
just trying to use the
where in
same
this
standard
Midianite is? Hold on,
consistently.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. We got to remove them. Where within the archaeology of the Midianites does it? Do you have anything to prove that these are Israelite people? Because what you're doing somewhat is sort of like kicking the can, as I would call it. You're just kicking the can. Now you're ready to start talking about Shasu people. We're not talking about Shasu people. We're talking about Midianites. We're talking about things that we can prove archaeologically that existed. And what you're trying to do is rewrite the data using your own personal inference in these silly Christian apologetic arguments.
Yeah. No,
Go
then.
ahead, Sid.
The Shah- Yeah, the Shashu are Bedouin people moving back and forth in the region. Again, if we're talking about the new kingdom, what is happening in Egypt? It is flourishing. People are coming in and out. You have the way of Horus that is noting all the people that are moving back and forth. So if you mention the Shashu, which are documented, this does not add up to the biblical narrative of the Exodus because the Israelites, which was a known group of people in Egypt at this time under Joseph. The Pharaoh didn't know Joseph, but these was a people, a particular people that were enslaved. They were identified. We have no evidence of this in Egypt. So now you're moving the goalposts. You cannot use the Aparu, you cannot use the Hebrew, you cannot use the Seshu. Why? Because these are documented groups of people that don't fit your narrative.
Sprint, let me bring him back. There you go, Courtney. I don't like removing you, but I just need you to stay on topic. We're not in the back chat. I'm trying to promote something and push something that can help the channel. And staying on topic is key. I can't talk over you, and I won't talk over you. Can't talk over me.
I'm I'm trying to allow everyone to speak. That's why I'm actually not trying to talk when others are talking. I mean, like,
You
yes,
have a
we do.
propensity to do that, Courtney, but it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. The reason why I mentioned the Shashu is because of the parallel of being able to find nomadic groups in an archaeological record. I would like to know if that was a situation, do we have them or an encampment site that the archaeologists say these were the Shashu? Like, that would be very interesting because then you would have a good parallel for being able to assess if we can or cannot even find such communities. Like, for example, in Edom, Tom Levy found a small piety near a mining center, which became a major place of trade. This is before they're actually Edom, but they're people in Sierra. The
Yes, I'm
identity
familiar
was,
with that. I'm
and,
familiar
and
with that. Yes.
and that goes back to like the 14th century BCE.
But see, Courtney, you know what the problem is? Look at everything you have to do to try to prove Israelites.
That's not
Look
much.
at all this you have to. Hold on. Look at everything that you're doing. If I ask you, hey, man, how does the Nile River turn into blood and all the civilizations up and down the Nile aren't affected by it? If I
Well,
ask you about the cattle, hold on. You
mm,
don't get to talk when I'm talking, brother. We're not in the back chat where the back chat can protect you all day and yell over each other. I don't necessarily do that. So what I'm trying to sit up there and say, every time we look for an Israelite narrative, you guys start talking about something else. You start talking about Edomite groups, or you start talking about Midianite groups, or you start talking about Shasu or wandering people. Could it be that because Egypt had records of all these people coming in and out, and they had records of their battles, and they had records of these Bedouin tribes coming in and out of there, that these priests who were probably there, these so-called Israelite priests or Yahwehist priests, they begin to do what? Concoct the narrative using these documents. Could it have been that? They had access to the records. We know they were on Elephantine. We know it was a library there. I mean, that's what people groups do. They adopt other people's stories and they place themselves in them. We see that with the Israelite groups today. We see that with Christianity today. Hell, I see that with the Egyptomaniacs today. No one would disagree with me on that, because this priesthood wants to give his own people a destiny that they don't have for themselves. So I'm going to concoct a history about myself. Could it be that?
I do like Richard Elliott Freeman's position if you want to take seriously JPD theories, because in his position, it's, well, let's look at the Levitical tribe, because according to the earliest two testimonies,
There's never been a tribe.
Oh,
Hold on, let me stop you
said we
there.
weren't
And I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go. No, I'm gonna let you go. I just want to be clear here. Was there ever a historical group of people called the tribe of Levi? Or are you talking about strictly the biblical narrative?
I wish I was able to finish my statement, because that's exactly what I was about to answer. So, according to Richard Elliott Freeman, his position, I do like, if you want to be serious regarding the JEPD theory and the critical analysis of the primary source text in question, which is the biblical material. And according to Freeman, you have two earliest sources. He says that's Exodus 15 and the Song of Deborah and Judges. Those two sources are the oldest. And when you look at the second, they're basically contemporary. You look at the Song of Deborah, and it does not mention the Levites. He talks about this because it could be that not all the Israelites were in the Exodus.
Can you share my screen, Chris?
That's Richard Elliott Freeman's position. And I said, if you take it seriously, it's very interesting, because the word Levite, the word and the community in the text of the Levites, they all have Egyptian names. So that's the way he argues the historical Exodus being just of the Levitical tribes. And the word Levite means those who get attached, according to Richard Elliott Freeman.
Can you share my screen for a second?
But according to the Bible, yeah, put it up so I could put it on there real quick, because we gotta fight through the flim flam.
Yeah. See, I left it out of the debate, but I was ready for these type of arguments because I knew this is what he was going to do. Here we go. The Song of Deborah, celebrating the victory over Canaanite forces, not a migration from Egypt. Focuses on tribes in the central high country of Canaan, likely intended as a ritual or damn, the word stuck in my mouth. Purpose, not historical documentation. Earliest layer, 12th, 11th century BCE, centuries after the supposed Exodus. What history actually says. Judges 5 is not a historical chronicle. It is a regional and literary, not national. No mention of Egypt, slaves, or mass migration. The core elements of the Exodus story reflects memory of tribal alliances and battles, not eyewitness history. Using the Song of Deborah as proof of the Exodus is cherry-picking poetic text, ignoring scholarly consensus from, again, Silverman, Flankelstein, Kogan, and Day. Stop it. Stop it.
And I also want to add that the Song of Deborah, and I also want to add I want to add that the Song of Deborah never mentions Moses, but yet it's mentioning their liberation from Egypt without its central character, which lets us
Exactly.
know that the theme, it was probably put together a lot later.
Yes.
That's
Well,
actually
It makes
part of
absolutely no sense.
that's
and
actually part
And
of
you
the
told
Friedman
me in the
doesn't
back,
really
you
Friedman
told
doesn't
me in the
use
back
this
chat
as
that the
evidence.
JDEP hypothesis is invalid. Right. You told me that the JDEP hypothesis was irrelevant and it was no longer usable anymore. You told me that yourself, and yet now you're trying to use it.
no. I said if you take it
You
seriously
told me that, Courtney.
as it relates to the debate of the
And you
Exodus.
told me a one you couldn't use it. When I brought up the
That's fine.
JDE, hold
I
on.
don't have a
When I
problem
brought
with
up
people.
the
Okay.
Yahwehists, the Elohists, the Deuteronomists, and the priests, you said critics say and scholars say. You went into that whole spiel, and then you turn right around and you use it. And I'm not
Yes,
condemning you for it. I'm just calling you out on it. That's all I'm
I'm,
doing.
I'm glad I do things in an academic way. Just because I am not one of the proponents of the view, I can still accurately articulate proponents of that view that have a historical exodus. All I was
Is that
doing was
why you
assuming.
inaccurately misquoted Karakuni?
Oh no! See, in the presentations, you have limited amount of time that you can actually share video. So all I was trying to do
Then
was
you used it,
share.
but you were
share
using it
I
to
don't know
prove that
why you're
you
cutting me off
used
to
her
study there,
work to
talking
stop,
over each
Courtney,
other.
Courtney, Courtney,
I'll let
Courtney, 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 stop. This is what I'm talking about with you Christian apologists, okay? This is flim flam, all right? Okay, this is the nonsense I'm talking about, bro. You use that in that debate to prove that the Israelites existed and the Exodus existed. And when you go look at the video, she is not saying that that happened. The very same thing. You could have let that entire 5 minute segment play out or 3 minute segment play out. You cut it off before she began to elaborate. And that's something that you guys do a lot of. You guys do a lot of that. I'm just calling you out on that. Let me bring him back. I can't have him talking over me. Don't come on here trying to sound academic. And then when you get called out for your blunder, you start talking over me. Go ahead, Courtney. I'm going to go on mute, guys.
I'm not sure if you're familiar though, Chris. There are rules to playing videos and having video content in your slides because they do not
The
warrant the
irrelevant, you're
situation.
not addressing the issue. You're
I am addressing
mischaracterizing
the
the
issue. He
author.
asked me a
You're
direct question. He said, "Do not
mischaracterizing
talk
the
over each other."
author.
Cedric, stop it. Childish ways are sad. I'm just addressing his direct question, which was, why didn't you play the entirety of the video? That was, and as he said, about 3 minutes long. We have time.
So the point
Get
Chris
the
was
fuck
trying
out of
to
here.
make
Get out of
was the
here.
fact that you are misrepresenting the author. Even if it's a minute that you have to play a video, right, which I kept to the time limits as well, you don't use that time to misrepresent the author. That's the whole point. So addressing the length of the video is irrelevant, Courtney, and it says your disingenuous nature. But again, you come from a disingenuous group of people anyway. So I expect that. But what they're not addressing is the real issue, the fact that you chose to misrepresent the author by making it seem as if you have evidence for Israelites in Egypt or evidence of the Exodus based on Egyptian text. No, she is doing the same thing what Rensburg is stating, the fact that the Exodus narrative contains a lot of Egyptian motif. You can find it all over the place. There's plenty of evidence for the Egyptians and the Exodus, for the Israelites and the Exodus in Egypt, because they use their motifs. So you were being disingenuous, regardless of the time that you had. You chose to misrepresent the author. That's the point. But that was a flim flam. I knew this was the type of flim flam I was going to deal with, and that's why I was like a pit bull in the Q&A. Didn't allow him to do all that shucking and jiving. Get out of here. And they won't learn. They won't learn. He's coming up here misrepresenting the authors again. What does Friedman conclude? What does he say the Song of Deborah represents, Courtney? Because it doesn't represent any Exodus. They are talking about internal strife again in Canaan. If a small group of people left and they used the way of Horus, they would have been noted going in and out. And how does a small group of people stay in the Sinai for 40 years and then subsequently conquer Canaan and throw down the walls of Jericho? How does this happen, Courtney? How? Where's your evidence? 65-mile-an-hour wind. Pushing in one direction is going to split the sea in two.
And misrepresenting people's arguments is not the way to go. You showed Kara Cooney's her talking because you thought that would support your narrative, and it don't, bro. That's the bottom line. So don't come up here talking to us like you above us and you're some academic. I've already exposed that. You misquoted her. And if you were a true academic, you would have cross-referenced your sources correctly and said, I can't use that because if somebody sees that, they're going to not take me seriously. That's what a true academic does. But maybe that's why you were up there with that baklava over your face because you was scared to get that egg on your face after we saw that shit. Like, get out of here, Courtney. We not falling for that. This is morning coffee, baby. This is morning coffee. This is bitter but necessary. You understand what I'm saying, Courtney? Get on out of here. We're not in the back chats, brother.
I know.
No,
you
I
can
got
put me in the back chat. You can put me in the back chat while I'm talking.
And Josh Bowen all up there saying, no, that's not, no evidence of that.
I guess I won't
and then
be
you
able
try
to
to
answer
screw
the
on
question.
Kara Cooney's state.
Y'all have a good day. I'm still here. I'll wait until I'm able to chance to address some of these questions that you have asked. Or okay, so as it relates to Kara Cooney, she does have Medford Beatok and Rosenberg's understanding of the Exodus, and their perspective is that the Shashu and primarily the Shashu were the Exodus community.
No, Courtney. Okay, so the Shasu was the Exodus community?
I'll go quiet. I'll go back quiet.
Yeah, you need to go quiet because you're not addressing what we said. You're still not addressing what we said. I need you to address that.
I would love.
Address why you use Kara Cooney's video. Address why you use Kara Cooney's video to try to prove the Exodus when she clearly tells you that it did not happen in the same video that you use. Address that.
Okay.
Again, I'm not asking you about her work pertaining to the Shasu people because Shasu people certainly are Israelite people.
Okay. So again, she holds to a position very close to Medford Beatok and Rosenberg.
No, you're still not addressing the question. You're still not addressing what I'm asking you. You're deliberately dodging it. This is your fourth dodge. I need you to tell everybody why you showed Dr. Kara Cooney's video that does not agree with your position. She does not agree with your Exodus. We are not talking about her position on some Shasu people coming in and out of there. You cannot say the Exodus happened and then use other people groups to say, oh, this supports the Exodus. Those narratives are narratives, historical narratives on their own that don't pertain to the biblical Exodus. That be the problem with y'all. When we be trying to talk about the biblical Exodus, y'all start talking about everything else but the biblical Exodus. You trying to talk about nomadic people groups. Stop. Stop. Nobody in the community will let me do something like that. And you guys
A
get to come
nomadic,
in and out of here, in and out of here and do that.
a nomadic people group that were enslaved. How does that work? How does that work? It doesn't. You need to stop. Like when you do these type of things, the one question we ask pertaining to the biblical narrative, the whole thing falls apart. Oh, so you're saying a migrating people moving back and forth throughout the recorded history, especially in the New Kingdom. We have documentation of these people moving back and forth. How are these the same people enslaved to build the city of Ramses or the temple of Ramses? How do you get an enslaved population in Egypt for 400 years if we're talking about a migrating, wandering Bedouin type of people? Make it make sense. Like, who do you think you are talking to?
Because if you're saying that the Shasu groups were in fact Israelites, then that would mean that the biblical narrative is in fact fake. You could throw the whole
All right.
biblical narrative away.
The moment we start to talk about kernels, then we can no longer talk about the biblical narrative being historical or have any archaeological evidence for it. You have no invasion if you have no mass migration. You have no miracles. You have no catastrophe in Egypt. None. None. These people are leaving Egypt because they're oppressed, running straight into the vassal kingdom of Egypt, having to pass through the Egyptian armies that are fortified through the whole area. Make it make sense. It doesn't. It doesn't match up to history. No element of it. This is a post-exilic text. And as Dr. Baden pushes it, he pushes it all the way post the Persian exile. There is no way you're going to make a story historical. The biblical narrative is not an historical document. It is not.
It's not. It's not. Because if you're using Shasu groups and things like that, why aren't you looking at the Hyksos people and one of their kings in the intermediary period was called Yaqub? You certainly not looking at him. You certainly ain't looking there since you're using all this personal inference. See, I could turn your rationale and turn it right against you. It's so many ways to attack this nonsense. And listen, you're not an enemy here, Courtney, but we know that the Christian apologist, he wants to focus on his academia. But yet, you already showed as an academic, you're dishonest. And you'll do anything to win an argument. And now you're being exposed for that and you don't like it, bro.
And the theological dawning of the word academia, man, listen, you're an expert in fairy tales. You're an expert in fairy tales, and that makes you what? Somehow smarter or better equipped to deal with a fairy tale text? Because if you put
and
it
I
next
didn't
to
know I didn't know place names, which uses rather recent languages, can be used to try and prove the historical claims of the Exodus. That certainly makes no sense. And let me say this. Let me say this. Those are recent languages, bro. El Daba, Tel Al Daba, and all that. Those are recent languages, bro. Let me say this, guys, in closing. Shout out to the pseudo killers because I'm over there in their Discord. First of all, shout out to them brothers right there. We be having a good time in there. And believe it or not, they was beating up Cedric the other day. Am I lying, said? They was on your ass up in there, wasn't they?
Hell no. It is. People think that we are a cult and that we're all more. No, we fight in there. We fight because when we come out here, we want to be as accurate as possible.
Presenting
so we get it
exactly.
in.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so it's not.
See, I stay in my lane.
It's not an area where we're kumbaya. We sharpen each other's swords we teach each other how to apply proper methodology. No, you're approaching this wrong from this particular area. No, you need to look at this. It is a training ground in how you assimilate your information, right? And most often people put this stuff together in a vacuum, and it sounds good when you're by yourself talking to yourself.
Yes.
It sounds real good. But when you put it out in the ether, now it's going to get critiqued, it's going to get torn apart, or it's going to get supported, and you're going to get that feedback. And without that support network around you're going to sound crazy. Like Courtney. Wow.
Wow.
The exorbitant and the exotic language used to try to create and produce a particular narrative that is going in a particular direction, very selective words, because you want to shoehorn your argument, just wedge it in there, like the way you dealt with what Chris was talking about. The length of the video, you know the limitations of the length.
He knew. Right. So once again, another Christian apologist goes down using common sense and logic. Oh, excuse me, correct methodology. You can come in here and talk all that stuff, Courtney. We ain't stupid. We not dumb. Those are just buzzwords used to intimidate laymen. I'll go right to them plagues. You say historical exodus, we gonna deal with the historical exodus, because the exodus is found in the Bible. I would just stay away from this argument altogether, because the Egyptian sources disprove it. You can't say, oh, there's nothing directly that proves this event in Egypt just so you can prove your exodus. That's not how this works. So with that being said, Egyptians didn't mention defeat, but yet Merneptah is nowhere in the Bible. Make that make sense. The exploits of Merneptah is nowhere in the Bible. Destroying the northern kingdom at that. Oh man. Shout out to Cedric Ortega for stopping by. Cedric, thank you for stopping by as always. Guys, I'll be doing this every morning. This will be the home of morning coffee for the next 2 months.
Morning coffee is back, folks. Be in the building.
No doubt. And remember, guys, a bad premise does not deserve a great stage. Shout out to Black Intelligentsia, Pseudo Killer Cedric Ortega for a remarkable exhibition of pseudo slang. And shout out to the audience for tuning in. Do me and the platform a huge favor. Hit that like button. That being said, y'all have a good morning. Peace.